Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Last but not least, they say, and I certainly hope I'm behind Peter, that's a very big challenge, but I'll try. Although, you know, this conference is about 50 years into the future, and frankly, I don't have a clue what's going to happen 50 years from now. But I do believe that well within that time frame, we will actually be able to look into the nearby future and change it. By collective massive amounts of information from all kinds of sensors in mobile devices, from connected communities, we actually will be able to predict events and actually change them. For sure not everything or everywhere, but one area where our time machine will work perfectly is the area of traffic and mobility. Everything that happens on the road. Now, driving has always been about independence, the open road, the man and his machine, the driver at the center of the universe, ready to explore and conquer. At least that's what the commercials say. But you and I know that the reality, unfortunately, is very different. There are just too many drivers out there, too many. And if you ask any of those drivers what they hate most, they will basically give you the obvious answer. All the other drivers. All the other drivers are actually the source of our annoyance because of the stupid moves they make. All the other drivers are the sole root cause for all of the traffic jams. And yes, they are all guilty of causing the accidents. So you know, the other drivers are actually a big pain in the butt. And it's getting worse. Well, I happen to disagree with that. I don't think the other drivers deserve that kind of a bad reputation. Let me tell you about a trip I made years ago, well before the time that everybody had a TomTom. And I went skiing, and I went skiing to Saint-Anton. Actually, it's a nice place, I can recommend it. And driving up there were a number of common things that actually catched my attention. Common, but interesting. Around Aachen, there was a guy coming at me and he's flashing his headlights, and I had no clue what he was signaling. Now, I found out soon enough, because apparently he was warning me for a speed cam up ahead. Now, I didn't get it, but I got the ticket. Now, a little while further, around Koblenz, I think, I saw something that catched my eye. You know, when people driving motorcycles and when they cross each other, they actually wave at each other, perfect strangers, as if they are connected, as if they are part of some kind of a secret community. Anyway, a couple of hours later, I got hungry and I decided to pull off the road into a restaurant, and I ordered some food. And while I was ordering, there was a nice little old lady giving me heads up about a huge traffic jam around Stuttgart. But, you know, my schnitzel was there and I lost all interest. And back on the road, I got into heavy traffic, and it got worse and worse and worse. And indeed, 5 kilometers from Stuttgart, I came to a complete standstill. And by then, I wished the lady would have been 30 years younger, and I would have paid a lot more attention. But anyway, I had no clue how much time I would spend in traffic, but a friendly truck driver actually told me that he heard over the CB from a colleague up ahead that we would be in that mess for over an hour. Now, with that information, I took the next exit. Approaching my destination, I thought about all those friendly people I encountered during my trip. Apparently, the other drivers are perfectly willing to help us out and are perfectly willing to share information. Weirdly enough, the other drivers are sharing that information with the goal to give you more freedom to move. And that's exactly what we think they've taken away from us. But yet another principle came to clarity here. On the road, your future is just up ahead. And people that are traveling in front of you or that are crossing you from coming out of the other direction actually have already experienced that future. They know. So think of traffic as millions of parallel timelines shifted in time. If just little information from a few random strangers can actually positively impact your journey, just imagine what it would be like if all of the drivers out there would share all of the journey information with each other. The principle is really simple. You collect the information of all the car drivers, all the journeys. You process it within milliseconds, and you redistribute the advices towards each and every individual single driver in order to make sure that he can take the action to render his journey easier, faster, more convenient. There's a big play in the numbers here, because just imagine that from all those drivers we would have that information, we would be able to collect it, and we would be able to process it very fast and redistribute it. We would actually be able to predict accurately events in the future and actually prevent them from happening or change them. Now, connected cars are on the product roadmap of every car industry. And it's definitely not a surprise to you all that the speed by which we will be able to collect information, process it, and redistribute it in the coming years and decades will actually increase massively. The accuracy of that information and the breadth of information will no doubt increase because of the introduction of more accurate and totally new sensors, as we already heard in previous talks. And the algorithms and the models by which we are predicting the future will become much more reliable. So all in all, it is highly likely that we will have the power to process zillions of variables for billions of cars real time and predict each and every individual future of each and every individual car and change it for the better. Now you might all say, well, that's all very nice. It's yet an abstract talk about an unattainable utopian principle. Well, that's not true. It's pretty realistic, actually. Let me give you a couple of reasons why this is not only realistic, but it's bound to happen. In aviation and shipping, we already apply those principles for many years. We have things like traffic control, autopilots, collision avoidance systems, and they're very well implemented. And just as in the case of navigation earlier, these industries are well ahead of the car world for one simple reason, one simple logical reason. With fewer planes in a bigger sky and with lesser ships in a much faster ocean, the problem to solve is much more easy than in the case of too many cars on not enough roads. But yet, we will crack that problem. We are actually today. In the company I work for, TomTom, we actually have proven the theory to be very valid and applicable. By combining our technology with the enormous amount of information we get from our users in our own connected community, we actually are capable of processing this and return the advices to millions of car drivers out there and make sure that their journey is actually more pleasant, is faster, is cheaper. So let me give you an idea about the numbers here. Today, within TomTom, we process 5 trillion journey measurements. And from that, we derive those advices that we actually feed back to the end users. And the benefits are huge. Now, let's talk about the benefits. Being able to look into the future and actually change it has obvious benefits. And these benefits go far beyond just making sure that everybody is 10 minutes earlier at work. Just imagine that instead of routing your drivers around the traffic jam, that we would actually could prevent the traffic jam from happening in the first place. And this is only the beginning. It's much bigger than that. In a perfectly connected car world, where the information is transparent and where we have the information to predict the immediate future, we could actually get rid of most, if not all, accidents. Now, just imagine how many lives we would save by doing that. Now, obviously, the skeptics in the room could basically say, well, yeah, okay, you have the technology, you have the benefits, but is there a burning need? Is there a burning need to implement this solution? Is this a must? Well, Bill Ford, actually, it's the great-grandson of the famous Henry, who, by the way, was half Belgian, as an anecdote. Bill Ford, in his TED speech recently, predicted, and I think he hit the mark there, that our current car volume of about just under 1 billion will grow in the coming period because of increased prosperity and growth of world population to between 2 and 4 billion cars on the road by mid-century. Now, unless we actually implement solutions that are really clever, we will find ourselves in a complete gridlock worldwide. Essentially and mostly in the biggest cities, but not only in the biggest cities. And that eventually will lead to a complete standstill of all economic and other activity on top of destroying the planet because of an overdoses of carbon dioxide. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about maybe or if. It's about how and when we implement the solution. Being able to look into the future and change it might very well be the only solution we have to preserve our freedom to move. So let's continue to work very hard towards that future in which the other drivers are not the problem, but actually are the ones that allow you to have a better future. So next time while driving home, if another driver puts up one or more fingers at you, just smile and wave back, because you know now how important he is for your future. Thanks for listening.